What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today we have something massive. We finally got the reveal trailer for Black Ops 3, and in it we actually have multiplayer gameplay, something very cool, and something not a lot of people will notice but actually know exactly which shots are taken from multiplayer, and I'm going to point those out when we get to it in the trailer. So if you're hyped for Black Ops 3, definitely smash that like button, and also leave a comment down below what you think about this game and what your initial impressions. There's a lot of crazy things to talk about, and we're going to have a lot of fun in this breakdown. So first off, we're going to get to see how futuristic this game is. We see some really cool shots of some enormous warships that are taking some even more enormous like battle tanks around the world, and it just really kind of gets you to the scale of how futuristic this game is going to be. Speaking of futuristic, we can also see this guy's arms and legs are made out of metal. They're robotic arms and legs, and it's just the kind of stuff we've been hearing about up until the reveal of this game, and it's going to be very cool to see what kind of stuff happens with these kind of half cyborg, half humans, and you kind of get a feel for in the trailer about how what happens when the person is the weapon. They're no longer holding weapons, but the people themselves are weapons because of the technology they have with them, and also what happens when that technology turns against you. Now, next up, we have our first ever shot of multiplayer gameplay, and I can assure you this is actually multiplayer gameplay. One of my friends, Mr. JD, actually went to Trag and he got to play multiplayer, and he confirmed for me this is multiplayer gameplay and it's one of the maps, and this is just crazy. We actually got multiplayer footage this earlier on, and it's looking really cool. Obviously there's no heads up display, there's not really much detail in it, it's probably going to look very different to the final build of the game, but this is actually multiplayer gameplay and it looks really cool. Now in it we see swimming even more in detail than it's been in past games. It's been kind of like snuck in there. There's been water elements in Advanced Warfare, you can actually swim underwater, but this game you can actually shoot underwater. All the weapons in Black Ops 3 are actually fully capable to be used underwater, and I cannot wait to have some gunfights underwater. It looks really cool. And then just after he managed to shoot this guy underwater, he actually does the first kind of boost jump, or thrust jump as it's called in Black Ops 3. This is the new kind of form of movement, and it's definitely not the same as an exo jump. If you're worried about boost jumping and exo jumping, this is definitely a very different thing, and you can see it's literally more like a jetpack. It's more like a float kind of like mechanism. It's less of just a boost from A to B. It's more of a variable jump as you kind of like control where you go. The speed is a lot slower also, you notice, and he kind of floats up from the water, and what he does even next is even more crazy. As you can see, he's got prosthetic arms made out of completely like robotic materials. He's got technology that allows his arm to transform into a minigun, and then he takes out this guy in front of him. Absolutely crazy stuff. And then you can see he also uses his arm to do something called a Nanobot Distraction, where he releases this kind of swarm of little kind of like cybernetics that manages to go and distract the enemies, and this has actually been used to distract the enemies, and I believe later down the line you can use them to actually kill enemies and take them out yourself. They get more lethal as you upgrade them. You can see that there's a lot of combat against robots in this. You're actually going to be fighting robots. This looks like the campaign, and you can actually fight robots and you can take them out. You can see this guy's like ripping the robots like kind of panel off, and he's shooting them right in the core. Maybe that's the weak spot for these robots, but there's going to be a lot of robots coming into play in the campaign. And then we have even more multiplayer gameplay. This is on another map which appears to have a lot of demonstration of wall running, which is another feature you can actually do in Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 3 multiplayer. I'm going to have a more in-depth video coming out later talking all about multiplayer. I've got a ton of multiplayer info, and I'm going to be talking about that in another video, so stay tuned for that video. But here we can see a gameplay of wall running and how it kind of works. You can use your gun fully while doing this, so you can pretty much like with no hands run on these walls, and also have full control of your weapons. You can aim down sight. You can see this player has a shotgun, and he managed to blast this one dude who's running on the opposite side of the wall, and then he manages to kind of like thrust his way off of the wall and then shoot another guy with this shotgun again. So that's another kind of like little bit of gameplay of multiplayer that we can see, and also a shotgun that's probably going to be in multiplayer as well. But again, this is all subject to change. It's a very early build in the game, and multiplayer is obviously going to look very different, but this is really cool to be able to see multiplayer in action for the first time very early in April, which is not a normal thing. Next up, we can see some more campaign gameplay, this time using a sniper. So this is what a sniper is likely to look like in the game. You can see the scope, you can see the kind of dual render, how the kind of foreground is actually blurred and you can't really see around the scope. And then we can see kind of, which seems to be a very cool ability, which the guy zooms into the guy and manages to do almost like a super punch, where he kind of like locks onto the dude and just flies towards him. Looks very powerful. And again, there's a lot of combat against robots, which seems to kind of like tell the campaign away from the multiplayer. Then we can see another character thrust jumping up until a very high surface. Not sure if he'll be able to jump this high in the multiplayer, but this may just be a campaign thing. And of course he's able to mantle up on top of the surface. Then what they do is very interesting. They manage to get their hand out, which is again a robotic arm, and they manage to take control of this drone, and then they actually go like and kill people with it, which is just really crazy. And next up, we have some really cool information. Now, I talked about in my last video these specialist characters, which along with your normal progression, you get to rank up these specialist characters within multiplayer, and they each have their own abilities and kind of like special performances they can do. And this is more multiplayer gameplay. once again on another multiplayer map, and there's a lot of multiplayer footage in this, but this is the use of one of these characters' special abilities, and this is, I believe it's a female, and she has the ability to take out this like a revolver pistol, and they all are one-shot kills for obviously for a very limited time only. You have to take time for build this kind of ability up, and then you're able to use it a few times in a match. Once you get a lot of kills, that also speeds up how fast you can earn these things, but they're kind of similar to kill streaks in a way, and they're very, very lethal. This character has the ability to take out this revolver kind of pistol, and each bullet is one shot. So I believe you get 6 shots in them, and you actually are one-shot kill. Obviously, you need to be very, very accurate, and also obviously it's a limited time only. When you take the pistol out, it's going to run out very quickly, but it's an ability to be able to take out people very, very quickly, and this is what happens. He just completely destroys this player. And next up, we get to see another one of these specialist abilities in action, and this is actually a gravity slam. This player called Ruin, actually it has the 2 giant like gravity spikes, and he just slams them into the ground and does an area of effect kind of shockwave, which kills all nearby enemies. So this is very, very powerful, and it's another example of one of these kind of like ability performances. Then we have another example of this, and this is actually another character who has this crossbow. Again, you have to earn this after a certain time. It builds up. Obviously, kills and objective play will decrease the time it takes to be able to use one of these things, but this is a specialist crossbow, which when you hit the player, it makes them explode and just completely disintegrates their body. If you have a look what happens to this person, their body just gets completely obliterated, and it will do a lot of damage to these people. So this is like a one-shot crossbow which deals a lot of damage, and again, that's one of those specialist abilities. And then moving into campaign, again we can see another very strange, possibly a score streak, which is able to spin along the ground, and it basically seeks you, and then it just completely destroys you. It's got spikes on it, and it will just absolutely destroy you. So this is a very, very lethal thing. It's possibly going to be a kill streak in multiplayer. We can see a lot of different melee options, so we can see a punch and an elbow. So possibly in multiplayer there'll be different ways to melee other than just the knife or the punch we saw in Advanced Warfare. There'll be other ways to melee people, and this guy has his robot arms, so it's a lot more cool as well. And then finally, we can see, if you stay tuned to the very end, we can see zombies, a tiny little tease of zombies. We can see a couple zombies breaking down a barrier. Their eyes are yellow, which means they're controlled by Samantha. That's pretty much the only thing we can get out of this. It's very, very cryptic. We can't really tell much from it other than it's very, very cool, and we can't wait for zombies in Black Ops 3. It's going to be huge. It's going to be very, very important. So hopefully you have enjoyed this video. A ton of information in there. If you have enjoyed it, give it a like rating, and also make sure you stay tuned for more videos on the channel. Gonna have another video coming up about multiplayer information, a ton of multiplayer information that I've got for you guys, so stay tuned for that one. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out, and also follow me on Twitter for the latest updates about Black Ops 3. So hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.